Today we will not just be reviewing one or two, but three of Nordictrack's new 2022 treadmill models, including the EXP 14i, the 2450, and the X22i. If you want to know more about each of these treadmills or need help deciding which one is best for you, you have come to the right place. Because while they do have similarities, there are massive differences between each of them. So today we're going to break all of that down by looking into their overall design, breaking down the differences between the actual treadmills, covering everything you need to know about their screens, fans, and speakers, the iFIT membership they run on, as well as their price differences and my final suggestions. My name is Colin Jenkins with Connect the Watts, and if that sounds good to you, hit that like button and let's dig in. Now, each of these three treadmills have a max suggested weight of 300 pounds, although the weight of the treadmills themselves vary quite drastically. The EXP 14i is fairly light at 229 pounds, the 2450 comes in at 353 pounds, and the X22i, that beast comes in at over 500 pounds, which I was surprisingly able to still move around, but I wouldn't suggest doing it by yourself in most cases. Now, the size of the treadmill belts for the X22i and the 2450 are both 22 inches wide and 60 inches long, while the EXP 14i is just 20 inches wide and 60 inches long. And I found that I did notice the 10% increase in width on the two more premium models, as it just gives you a little bit more safety room where you don't have to worry about accidentally hitting the sides with your feet. All of these 2022 treadmills feature the new Nordictrack design, having that lower step height, making it easier to come on and off of. Now, another big difference that you should be looking at for these treadmills is that the EXP 14i and the 2450 can both fold up, which decreases their overall storage space by about 1/2. Whereas with the X22i, it is not able to fold up, so you will have to have more of a dedicated space for it. And to fold it up and to bring it down is extremely easy with Nordictrack's Easy Lift Assist. The amount of strength it takes to lift it up is very little, and there's no need to worry about it crashing down on you, as it lowers very slowly when unlocked. Now, all these treadmills have a good amount of shelving to hold your water bottle or your headphones or your phone. The EXP 14i has the most room with an entire additional shelf underneath the main console. The 2450 interestingly has these two bottle holders, which really aren't attached or held in place by anything, but somehow this design actually still works really well, as I never saw them move or bounce around during any of my testing. The X22i probably has the least storage room of the three, but the storage system is much better designed than last year's model, which was really difficult and awkward to use since the water bottle holder was behind the screen. Now, in terms of compression and shock absorption and the comfort of running on these belts, there are no other running belt treadmills that I prefer more than Nordictrack's, which for somebody who isn't a hardcore runner used to running on pavement all day, it makes it a lot more comfortable and easier to run for longer distances. I know for me personally, I can run on any of these treadmills a good 20 to 30% longer than any other treadmills that I've tested in the past, simply because of how comfortable these treadmills feel to run on. Now, while all three of these feature that same sort of shock absorption system in the belt, you will feel a difference between the three simply because of how they're made and their weight. The EXP 14i, being the lightest, definitely feels quite a bit more bouncy when you're running on it versus the 2450 or the X22i, which feel a bit more stable with less motion up and down. So now let's talk about these treadmills' speed and incline and ability to auto adjust during classes. So in terms of incline, the EXP 14i can go from -3 degrees to 12 degrees. The 2450 can go from -3 degrees to 15 degrees. And the X22i can go to -5 degrees all the way up to 40 degrees, which obviously is an extremely high amount of incline, and I'll talk about what that incline is really used for in a moment. But besides the range of incline each of these treadmills have, the other big difference between them is how fast they can adjust those inclines. So when I took a measurement of how long it took for each treadmill to go from 0 degrees all the way up to 12 degrees, the EXP 14i was by far the slowest, taking 34 seconds. The 2450 took less than half of that time with 15 seconds, and the X22i is insanely fast with how quickly it can adjust its incline, taking just 10 seconds. And in fact, when I measured how long it took the X22i to go from 0 degrees to 40 degrees, it still was quicker than the EXP 14i. Now, in terms of having an incline that goes all the way up to 40 degrees, that just really depends on how you see yourself using this treadmill. See, one of the workout categories that iFIT provides, which is the connected fitness platform that is used on these treadmills, is outdoor scenic hikes. And this is where the ability to adjust to really high inclines is really useful, because it really allows these hiking workouts to provide a lot more value than if your treadmill only goes to 12 or 15. And as a lower impact option for those who may not be able to run all of the time, or for those who simply want a lower impact day, those hiking classes are a great option. And I've definitely had some of them bring my heart rate higher than many of the running workouts just because of this incline. Now, in terms of speed, that is where these three treadmills are much more similar. They all go from 1 mile an hour to 12 miles an hour, and they all roughly take around the same amount of time to change speeds. And another big similarity and benefit of all these three treadmills is their ability to auto adjust during the workout. In terms of the incline, it will automatically adjust during every class relative to the location you are at and what you're seeing on the screen, which is part of what makes iFIT Scenic Rides so great, as you can really feel immersed into that location and you feel like you are sort of running where you are actually looking at, because you're not having to adjust or think about adjusting anything. You're just focusing on your own run and maybe what the instructor is telling you. There are also two additional auto adjustment features on these treadmills, the first of which is called Smart Adjust. Now, what Smart Adjust does is it automatically controls the speed of the treadmill during the classes relative to what the instructor wants you to do, whether it's a walk or a jog or a sprint, and relative to your own current fitness level. So it makes every workout feel personalized to your own current capabilities. The other auto adjusting feature, which is used on some classes, is called Active Pulse. And the way this one works is if you have a heart rate monitor on, it'll constantly monitor and compare your heart rate relative to the training zone that the class wants you in at any particular time and adjust your speed accordingly to keep you in that zone. Personally, while I do use Active Pulse on occasion during some of the longer endurance runs, I typically will stick mostly to Smart Adjust just because I feel that the adjustments are much quicker and appropriate to what I want to get out of each session. Plus, if I want to make the workout harder or easier based on how I'm feeling that day, I can still make those adjustments with using Smart Adjust, and it'll remember those adjustments for the rest of the session, so the entire workout is changed relative to what I need. All right, so let's talk about some of the other differences that you'll see between these treadmills. The most obvious of which is going to be their screens. The EXP 14i has a 14-inch touchscreen, which is going to be underneath most people's eye level, so you're going to probably be looking down a bit to see it. The 2450 has a 22-inch HD screen, which is a little bit higher, and the angle of which can be adjusted up or down, and even has 360 degrees of rotation should you want to use that screen for any classes off of the treadmill. The screen on the X22i is essentially the same as the 2450, with the one big difference being that it is quite a bit higher, which for me I actually really like, because when I'm running, I want to keep good form by keeping my head neutral and my eyes straight ahead, and that's the screen that's placed best in order for me to do that. Now, in terms of the speakers, all three of these treadmills sound pretty close to the same, all of which sound pretty good and have a decent amount of volume. The only problem really is that there's no bass here, so the sound quality isn't something that I am particularly happy with. There's also an embedded fan in each of these treadmills, although all three fans are quite different. On the EXP 14i, there is a single fan in the center, and this fan is both the weakest of the three and directionally isn't placed as optimal as the other two in terms of being able to get that air to your face where you'll want it the most. The 2450, on the other hand, has two fans on the side angled towards you, which does provide a lot more airflow, and you do feel that air everywhere, so these are very excellent. And the X22i goes back to a single fan, but this fan is actually the most powerful of the three, so it is pretty comparable to the two fans of the 2450 in terms of how much airflow you'll feel, and it is placed optimally as well, so unless you're extremely tall, you probably will feel the airflow everywhere that you want to. Now, as I mentioned earlier, all three of these treadmills run with an iFIT membership. Now, this membership costs $39 per month for a family plan, which allows for 5 memberships, or you can choose to have it lowered down to a single profile for a monthly fee of $15. And in terms of the classes and the programs that iFIT offers here, they are excellent. They have hundreds, if not thousands, of scenic runs to choose from all over the world with instructors that are arguably some of the best of any connected fitness platform. What I also really like here is that most of these workouts are part of a full program, meaning they make sense from one workout to another. So you can actually pretty easily find a program that's well built relative to your goals and how often you'd like to run during the week, and just go at it knowing that you're going to make a good amount of progress from the first day to the last. And this is something that is really missing from a lot of other connected fitness platforms like Peloton, for example, where it's more of a buffet style of choose your own workouts. You can of course do that here, but I think iFIT does a really good job of encouraging people to actually take fully built programs, which in my opinion is a really good thing. On top of their instructor-led scenic runs, they also have live studio classes, and these are a bit more limited because all of them are exactly 30 minutes and they all take place in the morning. And with a leaderboard that's currently not very interactive, it's just not the best thing that iFIT makes, and I think most people know that and stick mostly to the outdoor scenic runs. They also have a lot of live events and races, which I think are a lot of fun. And while the iFIT platform could definitely use an overhaul in terms of its UI and the ability to browse through workouts, it has improved quite a bit over the past year, so I hope they keep making those improvements. If you look closely, there is still a frame drop issue during many of the classes, but in terms of value, I'm very happy with iFIT, and I think it is definitely one of the best at-home fitness platforms currently available. Okay, so now let's talk about the differences in cost between these three treadmills. The EXP 14i cost $1,899, the 2450 cost $2,499, and the X22i cost $3,299. Now, what I want to talk about here is one of the treadmills that is not shown here, and that is the 1750, which is essentially the same treadmill as the 2450, except with a 14-inch screen instead of a 22-inch one. Now, the reason I want to bring attention to the 1750 is because currently at $1,899, it is the exact same price as the EXP 14i, which really doesn't make sense to me since they both have the exact same screen size, but the 1750, like the 2450, was built as basically a more premium version of the EXP 14i. So I'm not sure why anybody would choose the EXP 14i over the 1750 when they are the same price. So unless some of these prices change and you're looking for a treadmill under $2,000, I would definitely suggest looking into that 1750. Now, if you want to pay a little bit more for that bigger screen on the 2450, I'm not quite sure that'll be worth it to everyone. There's a big $600 difference between these two models, and while I am a big fan of the larger screen, especially with these outdoor scenic rides, I'm not quite sure it's worth the extra $600 cost. That's something that you might have to think about before you order. And finally, there is the X22i. Now, like I mentioned before, this is the one treadmill that does not fold up, so I think it's gonna be a little better for somebody who has more space to work out in. But definitely, if you have the space and the money, the X22i is definitely my favorite treadmill. Its ability to change incline so rapidly and so quickly really helps enhance the immersion you get with every single class you take. And so whether you plan on running or just using the treadmill for fast walking or hiking, the X22i is probably one of the best, if not the best, treadmills you can get for your home. Now, NordicTrack doesn't just make treadmills, but they also make bikes, and they have a brand new S27i bike as well as a brand new model of the popular S22i bike. So make sure to watch my review and comparisons of those two bikes here. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video and you want more content like this, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.